By Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, mega money. 160 million rupees of ill-gotten gains found from suspected drug racketeers. Trouble at the harbour. Port unionists allow entry to port following court order, but protests continue. What Sri Lanka wants. Former Prime Minister and leader of the United National Party believes that the people are disenchanted with coalitions.
Country also, I don't think is the mood for coalitions. They'll vote for some party to get a majority.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Saturday, the 1st of August, 2020.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then Dikukal pavathina sakura mal suandin.
Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamma Kanaka. Now in your top story this evening, police arrested an individual with over 50 million rupees, which included foreign currency, suspected to have been obtained from drug trafficking. Investigations have revealed that the suspect engaged in heroin trafficking while posing to be a moneylender. Meanwhile, police also arrested another suspect who claimed to have 70 million rupees in his bank account, with interrogations further revealing that his actions are orchestrated by an individual residing abroad. He too is suspected to be involved in drug trafficking operations. During the day, the police have found local and foreign currency amounting to 160 million rupees in possession of these suspects. In the meantime, prison intelligence officers caught a cat near the Valikata Magazine prison today with 1.7 grams of heroin, 2 SIM cards and 2 memory chips tied around its neck.
An individual has been arrested and interrogated during a raid conducted today upon a tip-off received by the intelligence unit of the Western Province. During the process, it was revealed that the suspect had a bank balance of 70 million rupees. Furthermore, the money was being disbursed to accounts of various persons upon instructions given by an individual from abroad via telephone. Later, details of 4 other accounts to which money was transferred to was uncovered. The account holders were also arrested. According to police, the accounts had funds amounting to over 40 million rupees. Police suspect that the money in question was obtained through drug trafficking. Meanwhile, the Colombo North Police arrested a person today over obtaining more than 50 million rupees in local and foreign currency by drug trafficking, while also being in possession of 4 grams of heroin. Among the suspected ill-gotten money was $140,000. Police stated that the money was found from a house in the area of Dematagoda, adding that the suspect was ready to transfer money through the Mundial system. Police further stated that the suspect was a resident of the Dematagoda area and had pretended to be a money lender. In more developments, the drug trafficker who carried out his operations, depositing money via the Easy Cash service, was apprehended by the Ratnapura police last night. The suspect had been in possession of 9 grams of heroin at the time of the arrest. Police have uncovered that the racketeer had conducted his operations with the use of 3 mobile phones. What's more, the Kandana police have arrested 8 individuals in a raid carried out upon instructions of Senior DIG in charge of the Western Province, Deshabandhu Tennakone. Police said that more than 50 grams of narcotics and 150,000 rupees in cash were seized from their possession. Meanwhile, police have also arrested 25-year-old Rangaduningdu Dulshan Amarasinghe, alias Tsunami, for running a sand mining station allegedly owned by underworld kingpin Angodalokka, located in Mulleriyawa. Interrogations led to the discovery of a sword and a bomb hidden in a bush near the sand mining station. Elsewhere, an accomplice of notorious underworld figure Kudu Anju named Nilanga Piris alias Asankar has been taken into custody by the Colombo Crime Division. Following interrogations, police seized a foreign-manufactured revolver and its ammunition used for criminal activities inside a house located in Megoda.
Now, taking a look at the country's coronavirus situation, Sri Lanka saw its first delivery of an infant from a COVID-19 positive expectant mother today. Considering the delicate nature of the situation, a team of 35 medical personnel, including doctors and microbiologists, aided the successful delivery. All necessary health and safety precautions, meanwhile, were also followed during the process.
An expectant mother who was repatriated from Dubai was admitted to the Kandakaru Rehabilitation Centre on the 10th of July. On the 21st of this month, she was diagnosed with COVID-19 after she was subjected to a PCR test. Doctors then referred her to the special unit of the Colombo East Base Hospital for COVID-19 infected expectant mothers on the 23rd. After they discovered that the mother had gone into labour, the doctors had to take special precautions to ensure that they didn't contract the virus during the delivery procedure. Due to the delicate nature of the situation, 35 staff members, including doctors, were referred for this caesarean operation. Microbiologists also joined the team.
රෝහලේ සියලුම කාර්ය මණ්ඩලයකට සම්බන්ධ සියලුම දෙනා එකතු වෙලා ඉතාමත්ම යොසුරුව අවශ්‍ය ඒ සෞඛ්‍ය ආරක්ෂිත ක්‍රම සියල්ල අනුගමනය කරමින් සිසේරියන් සැත්කමක් මගින් දරුවා බිහි කරා. මේ වෙනකොට දරුවා සහ මව ඉතාමත්ම හොඳ නිරෝගීතාවයකින් සෞඛ්‍ය මට්ටමේ පසු වෙනවා.
Accordingly, this is the first instance of a COVID-19 infected expectant mother delivering her baby in Sri Lanka. The doctors said that the infant has been subjected to a PCR test despite the healthy condition of the newborn. In the meantime, the country's number of active COVID-19 cases stand at 365, with 48 persons being discharged from hospitals today. There were also no fresh cases of the coronavirus confirmed within the day.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
All-party British Sri Lanka Parliamentary Group President Lord Nesby warns the United Kingdom of potential challenges arising in Chief LTT child soldiers recruiter and trainer Adele Balasingham continuing to, as he termed, comfortably reside in the UK. During a recent debate, Lord Nesby also flagged an attempt by the so-called transnational government of Tamil Eelam to lift the prescription on the terrorist group, the LTTE, by filing action in UK courts.
Addressing the House of Lords during the debate on Global Human Rights Sanctions Regulations 2020, Lord Nesby touched on the so-called transitional government of Tamil Eelam, saying that he prefers to focus, though sadly, on the Sri Lankan Tamil Tigers which the UK proscribed in 2001. Lord Nesby said that the LTTE was succeeded by the transnational government of Tamil Eelam, which is proscribed in Sri Lanka. He added it is staffed and organised by former LTTE people and it started a legal action in the courts in the UK to lift the proscription on the Tamil Tigers. Lord Nesby went on to say that, quote, the TGTE espouses an ideology which is almost identical to that of the LTTE. It has never denounced violence or the terrorism of the LTTE. It disseminates propaganda worldwide, targeting young people, mainly Tamils, with commemorative events, waving LTTE flags and the Black Tiger, etc. Worst of all, I think it has never shown any remorse over child soldiers. UNICEF stated on the 31st of July 2005 that 5,081 underage soldiers were recruited, 40% girls and 60% boys, and at the end of the war, 594 was the small number that were left. Still, in this country, we have Mrs. Balasingham, who is the arch recruiter and trainer of the child soldiers, residing comfortably in the United Kingdom. That is a challenge we need to face, unquote.
Enjoy a very smooth shave with the Bic Easy 2 razor. Bic Easy 2.
Now, former director of the Criminal Investigation Department, interdicted SSP Shani Abesekara, was ordered to be remanded until the 7th of this month by the Gampaha Magistrates Court on charges of fabricating evidence. He was produced before the magistrate following an interrogation of 8 hours by the Colombo Crime Division.
Former director of the Criminal Investigation Department, interdicted SSP Shani Abesekara, who was arrested yesterday on charges of fabricating evidence, was produced before the Gampaha magistrate around 9:20 last night. After being arrested by the Colombo Crime Division, AdaDerana was interrogated for about 8 hours. According to the AdaDerana reporter on the ground, submissions were made by both factions over an hour after the interdicted SSP was produced before the magistrate. The suspect was then ordered to be remanded until the 7th of this month. Shania AdaDerana was accused of fabricating evidence by coercing several individuals. The fabricated evidence showed that former DIG Vasco Navardhana was in possession of illegal firearms. 3 police officers and 2 civilians had given evidence before the magistrate in this regard. They, however, recanted their previous testimonies after they were arrested. Meanwhile, former Deputy Minister Premalal Jayasekara and 2 others who were sentenced to death in connection with a murder back in 2015 in the run-up to the presidential election were brought to the Valikada prison last night.
Moving on with other stories, the Trade Union for the Protection of the East Container Terminal of the Colombo Port is adamant that the protest against the privatisation of the terminal will continue despite allowing container carriers entry into the port in compliance with a court order. The protest was staged demanding a written pledge that the eastern terminal of the Colombo Port will be handed over to the Sri Lanka Ports Authority prior to the general election.
On the 3rd of last month, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa allowed 3 gantry cranes imported from China to be unloaded at the East Container Terminal for operations at the Colombo Port. However, 23 trade unions of the Colombo Port launched a satyagraha on the 29th of last month, demanding a written pledge that the Eastern Terminal will not be privatised and instead will be taken on by the Sri Lanka Ports Authority prior to the general election. Since yesterday, trade union members have been protesting by obstructing the entry of containers into the Colombo harbour near the Hartal Bridge. Due to the blocking of the entrance, long queues of container carriers were seen outside the port. Upon instructions of the government to resolve the crisis, Minister Vimal Weerawansa and former parliamentarian Udaya Gammanpilla met with the trade unionists last night.
India බලපෑම් නැති හැබැයි විසඳුම් තියෙනකොට මේ සිටි පර්යන්තයේ වරාජිකාරී සතු නොකර විශේෂමාන ඇමතිවරයා අපේ දානවා කැබිනට් පත්‍රිකාව.
ඕගොල්ලෝගේ කියන කාරණේ හොඳටම අපිට තේරෙනවා ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ විදිහේ තමයි. ඉතින් ඒගොල්ලෝ කලබල වෙලා තින්නේ. අපි එහෙම තාම කිසිම තීරණයක් අරගෙන නැහැ නේ කියලා. ඇත්ත කතාව දැන් කැබිනට් එකට ඔය කියන කැබිනට් පේපර් එක ආවේ නැහැ. සමහර විට ඩ්‍රාෆ්ට් කරලා ඇවිල්ලා හරවලා යවුවා වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මම ඒක දන්නේ නැහැ. කොහොම වුණත් ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපිට දැන්නුවා ඔබතුමාලට කියන්නේ කියලා 6 වෙනි. පළවෙනි සාකච්ඡාව ඇටියට තමුන්නාන්සලට ඒ සාකච්ඡාව දෙන්නම් කියලා. ඒ සාකච්ඡාවේදී ඔබතුමාලගේ ඔය තියෙන ගැටලුව තුමත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කරලා රජයේ ස්ථාවරය ගැන ඔයගොල්ලෝට සැක සංකාවක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒක තුරන් කරගන්න පුළුවන්. එතුමන්ලට අපි අදහස දැනුම් දුන්නා. නමුත් එතුමන්ලගේ දැඩි ස්ථාවරයක් තියෙනවා ලිඛිතව පරාය අධිකාරිය සතුව මෙම නැගින්න පර්යන්තයේ තවදුරටත් පවතින බවට ලිඛිත සහතිකයක් ආණ්ඩුවෙන් අවශ්‍යයි කියලා. ඒ බව අපි දැන් ජනාධිපතිතුමාට දැනුම් දෙනවා. හෙට දවස තුල යම්කිසි වෘත්තීය සමිති වලට සෑහීමකට පත්විය හැකි විසඳුමක් ලබා දීමට අපි ආණ්ඩුවේ පාර්ශ්වකරුවන් හැටියට උත්සාහ කරනවා.
In the backdrop of failed talks, the trade unions continued to engage in the satyagraha for the 4th day today while continuing to refrain from work. Meanwhile, a discussion held between senior DIG Deshabandhu Tennakone and the trade unions to remove the obstruction for container vehicles entering the Colombo port ended on a low note. The police then obtained a court order to move the obstructions from the main entrance into the Colombo port, following which the trade unions moved the barricades blocking the main entrance.
We will see you shortly after this break. Bear with us. Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, leader of the United National Party, former Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe believes that the country is not in the mood for coalitions and will vote for a single party majority. Speaking to Individu Yamuatha on our current affairs program at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, Wickremesinghe, however, said that Sri Lanka should not have a single party government while brushing aside the UNP breakaway faction Samagi Jana Balawege as a transient entity.
For 42 years in Parliament, you have been a part of this entire setup. Everybody talks about Sri Lanka, a greater Sri Lanka. Where have we gone wrong?
But there are two different versions. One is be practical, work out on the market, accept the open market, and go along, which is what people have done, including in China. Secondly is to go back to slogans of the past, slogans of greatness, without any, which is empty, which is only rhetoric. You talk of socialism. You want state control because you want to control so many people, and you become the modern version of a feudal lord. You look after different business interests instead of looking at the country as a whole. So that's where it is, and you don't look for unity, you look for disunity as the means of getting votes. So there are two different cultures that are clashing, unfortunately.
Are you saying you're more practical when it comes to running the country?
Not only practical, but we have realistic goal and I want to achieve it.
You have not had absolute power in any of the times you became Premier. I saw Mangala Samaravira, one of your closest allies in the party, saying this is the president Sri Lanka never had. But why?
We started the presidential system, then we realized it wasn't working. And it's better to go back to a parliamentary system, and the executive president has a certain role in balancing between the centre and the provinces. It has come into being only now. In the earlier stages, Sirisena agreed to go along, but he wanted two ministries. The president could use the two ministries to block many of the work. Secondly, when I was there earlier, I was able to run the government, but then President Kumanatunga thought she should dissolve us and take over some of the ministries because they wanted to get ready for the elections. To avoid that situation, that we brought in the 19th Amendment. And then I carried the government on, despite all the problems, until Sajith Premadasa lost the presidential elections, and our parliamentary group decided that we should go into opposition.
With the party split, the UNP and the Samagi Jana Balavega, what are we offering the people? What are the different policies that the two parties? Because to an outsider, it seems like it's the same United National Party split in two, same policies.
No, it is a different party. Now the courts have ruled, and their candidates are detrimental to the UNP. They are not the same because they consist of those minor parties whom we took out of the Mahinda Rajapaksa government, now who is dominating it, and didn't want the name UNP. Now we wanted the name UNP to be carried on. That was all that we insisted. We wanted an alliance with the UNP in a majority, and like last time had the UNP symbol. They wanted a completely new party, so they had no faith in the UNP.
So what will be the fate of this new party, the Samagi Jana Balavega, once after the general elections, those who are voted in as parliamentarians?
I don't know. You know, Balavegi is something that is temporary. These are not things that last so long. Some Balavegi comes and the Balavegi goes off. Obviously, they have found an appropriate name, Balavegi. These are transient things. So
are you seeking a coalition with the SLPP going forward?
No, we have put a manifesto, have confidence in us, give us the mandate. Otherwise, we'll watch the fun from the opposition.
There's been a lot of talk for a long time that the Rajapaksas have always protected and shielded Ranil Wickremesinghe. Is this true?
No, they took away a lot of my members to become ministers in 2005.
But you've been able to work better with the Rajapaksas?
I have been able to work with Raja. I've worked with Chandrika Kumanatunga. I've worked with Mrs. Bandaranayake. I have had no problem.
What decisions that you took would you go back on?
I don't think there are decisions to go back on. There are decisions that were not taken.
What was these decisions that you had not taken?
No, we didn't have. We didn't have a government. We didn't have a majority last time, unfortunately, and we had to compromise. We were in the art of coalition. That's why we said we prefer to have a government with a majority.
Going back to the
country also, I don't think is the mood for coalitions. They'll vote for some party to get a majority.
Is this because of the failure of the coalition during the 2015 Good Governance government?
It worked, but I think the conflict areas have been a source of concern to the voters.
I'd like to talk a little about the ceasefire agreement. You would have ended the war and you would have been at the helm of the change, liberating the country. You would have led that.
Is this relevant to the elections? No one is talking the ceasefire agreement. We did talk about it in 2005.
Certainly not relevant to the parliament, but we'd like to talk about your journey. You have been an iconic figure in Sri Lankan politics.
At the time I took over, the Sri Lanka army was losing and retreating. We had negative growth for the first time. So all I had to do was to give time for the army to reorganize itself and get the economy back. We got the economy back. We got the army reorganized. I think our army should have been ready even by 2006 to go into operations. We always went on the basis if LTT didn't come up with specific proposals, then we would have to use the armed forces then to go in to re-establish civil rule. As it went on, the economy picked up and we got stronger. That's why we were able to face the war. And of course, Karuna decided that negotiations were better than going in for war. And Prabhakaran said, this is a peace trap.
Do you believe that Sri Lanka should have a single party, should set up a single party government?
No. Sri Lanka is never capable of setting up a single party government.
Now, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa states that a government that comes to power for a mere 5 years has no right to sell the resources of the future generations. Addressing a public gathering in the area of Tissamaharama on the campaign trail yesterday, the PM said that the Sri Lankan side managed to renegotiate with the Indian government to secure the operations of the Mattala Rajapaksa Hambantota Airport for Sri Lanka.
අපිට දැන් තියෙන්නේ බීමට නල ජලය පිරිසිදු නල ජලය ලබා දීමේ වමනාව. ඒ සඳහා තමයි අපි ලබන ආණ්ඩුවෙන් අපි මුල් තැන ලබා දෙන්නේ. අනාගතයේ ඉපදෙන්න ඉන්න දරුවන්ට අයිති දේපල අවුරුදු 5කට බලය දෙන ආණ්ඩුවකට විකුණන්න කිසිම අයිතියක් නැtei කියන එක අපි තමුන්නාන්සලට මතක් කරන්න ඕන. දැන් අද ඒක විකුණලා. අපි ගුවන් තොටුපළ වාසනාවට ඒකේ ව්‍යවස්ථා වෙනස් කිරීම තියෙන තිබුණ නිසා අපිට ඒ අයට මේක විකුණ ගන්න බැරි වුණා සම්පූර්ණයෙන්. අපි ගිහිල්ලා ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගිය වෙලාවෙ ඉන්දියාවෙට මෞදියා ගමතිවරයා හම්බ වෙලා ඒ ගැන සාකච්ඡා කරා. ලකලුවා මේක අපිට දෙන්න කියලා අපිට විකුණන්න බෑ කියලා. මම ගියා. අපි සාකච්ඡා කරලා මේක අපි දුවවන්න කටයුතු කරනවා කියලා අපි ඒක බේරගත්තා. එක්සත් ජාතිපක්ෂවගේ පහුගිය අවුරුදු 5දී මුලින්ම කරේ ගුවන් තොටුපළට අහස් යාත්‍රා ගේන එක නෙවෙයි වී ගබඩාවක් කරා. මොන අපහාසයක්ද කරේ? සජිත් ප්‍රේමදාසලා එක්ක උවිලා කරේ මේකයි. අපේ ආය විරුද්ධ වුණා. අපේ හාමුදුරුවන්ගේ ඔලු බැලුවා. නාමල්ලා හිරේ ගියා. TLP සමිතුමා පළවෙනි වතාවට කඳුළු ගෑස් කෑවේ. අපි නම් ඕක කාලා තියෙන හොක්කල්. එහෙමයි ගහලා එළෙව්වේ. එළවලා තමයි මේවා වික්කේ. අපි නැවත බාරයක් හිතන්න ඕන මේ රට අපි විකුණලා දානවද? එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ සම්පත් රැකගෙන අනාගතේ ඉපදෙන්න ආපු දරුවන්ට මේ සම්පත් ටික රැක දෙනවද කියන තීන්දුව ගත යුතුව තියෙනවා ඔබට.
Now, with the election campaigning for the upcoming general election set to end at midnight tomorrow, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa took part in a slew of election rallies held in the district of Badulla in support of the SLPP candidates.
Several political rallies were worked off in the Badulla district today in support of the candidates contesting the polls from the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa endorsed these candidates starting from Tenuka Vidanagama at the public grounds in Mahayanganaya. Later, the President visited the Dehigola Mahavidyalaya. The head of state then participated in a public gathering organised by candidate Oshadi Heva Madhuma at the Kandakatiya weekly fair premises.
We will see you shortly after this break. Stay tuned. Staying with politics, leader of the United National Party Ranil Wickremesinghe was critical of the government's temporary embargo on imports, insisting that the products which cannot be manufactured locally must be imported. On the campaign trail ahead of Wednesday's general election, the former Prime Minister noted that those who left the party to form another are now claiming to be real UNPers.
Leader of the United National Party, Ranil Wickremesinghe, attended an election propaganda event of the party that was held yesterday in the area of Angulana in Moratuwa.
මම දන්න ආර්ථික විද්‍යාවක් නෑ ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම. ආර්ථිකය ගැන හොඳටම දන්නේ මම නෙමෙයි. ඔබ රට විකුණන්න නැතුව මේක අරගෙන ඔයගොල්ලෝ අතට සල්ලි දෙන්න. දැන් ඉතින් හැම එකක්ම උකස් තියෙනවා. ඒක තමයි රටත් උකස් තියෙනවා දැන්. දැන් ආනයනයක ඔක්කොම නවත්තන්න. ඒ කියන්නේ පරණ මෝටර් බයිසිකලයක් ගන්න බෑ. මොකද පරණ එක තියෙන එක්කනට අලුත් එකක් ගන්න බෑ. අලුත් එක ඒ නිසා එමෙයා විකුණන්නේ. රූපවාහිනී යන්ත්‍රයක් නෑ දැන්. දේශීයන දැන් ඉතින් ලංකා හදන්න පුළුවන් රූපවාහිනී යන්ත්‍ර. බැරි ඒවා පිටින් ගේන්න ඕනේ. හෙල්මටුත් ගන්න බැරි වෙයි. ඔක්කොම ඉතින් ටින් එකක් ඔළුව වටේ දාලා යන්න. අපි මෙතෙන්ට යන්න හොඳ නෑ. මේ රට බේරා ගන්න පුළුවන් එකම පක්ෂය එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂය විතරයි. අනික මං කියන්නේ මේ එක එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයයි ලංකාවේ තියෙන්නේ. ගින් නඩු දැම්මනේ අපිට විරුද්ධව. උසාවියක බොරු කියන්නේ පයිසි. ඔයගොල්ලෝ වෙන පක්ෂයක්. ඒකත් තාම ඉගෙනගෙන නෑනේ. හොඳට ටොක්ක්ක් ඇන්ද. ඕනද ආපහු උසාවියට යන්න කමන්නේ. අන්තිම නුනේ අහිංසක නගර සභා මන්ත්‍රීන්ගේ තැන නැති වෙනවා. එච්චරයි වෙන්නේ. දැන් ඒගොල්ලෝ නියම UMP කාර්ය වෙලා. කවුද ගියේ අපේ පක්ෂෙන්? අතිගරු ජනාධිපති උතුමාණන් කියලා අප්පකාරයට කිව්වන්නේ. ඒකද? ඕකද නියම UMP. එයාට විරුද්ධව දවසක් කතා කරේ නෑනේ. දැන් කියනවා මං යා උස්සගෙන ගිහින් අයියෝ මම එහෙම පවක් කරන්නේ නෑ. මෙයා නම යෝජනා කරන එක පවක්. තව මොනවද උස්සගෙන යන්නේ? ඉතින් එයාට කියන්නේ අතිගරු ජනාධිපති උතුමාණන් කියලා. දැන් එයා වීරයා මම ද්‍රෝහියා. අර දවස් 52ක් ඇති උනේ අපේ අය ගිහින් එතෙන්ට හේතු වෙන නිසා හොඳ වෙලාවට ගලවා ගත්තා. එන සැරේ එහාට දීලා ඊළඟ මෙහාට දීලා ඊළඟ සැරේ අපිට දෙන්න බෑනේ. ඒක දැන් වෙන පක්ෂයක් හදලා යන්න ඔය යන විදිහට බෙර ගහගෙන මේව කරගෙන ඒක අපිට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. සමහර විට අපේ අය අපේ කකුලෙන් ඇද්දට අපි දුවනවා. එත් මතක තියාගන්න. ගෙදර ආර්ථිකය ආරක්ෂා කරන්න. අතට සල්ලි ගන්නට අගෝස්තු 5 වෙනිදා එක්සත් ජාතික පක්ෂයට ඡන්දෙ දෙන්න අලියලගින් කතරේ ගහන්න.
Now, former presidential candidate and leader of the Samagi Jana Balavega Sajith Premadasa too promises justice for those who were politically victimized. Addressing a meeting with trade union representatives, Premadasa pledged to provide relief to 75% of such persons within 6 months after coming to power. He also urged trade union leaders to coerce all their members into supporting the Samagi Jana Balavega.
Leader of the Samagi Jana Balavega, Sajith Premadasa, attended a meeting that was held with the leaders of the trade unions at the public library in Colombo yesterday.
මේ රටේ තිබෙන පිරිසිදුම වෘත්තීය සමිති ව්‍යාපාරයේ ගොඩනගන්නට සමගි ජන බලවේගයේ අපි සියලු දෙනාම කැප වෙනවයි කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේ කියන එක. මම ඔබතුමාලට පොරොන්දු වෙනවා කරුණා කරලා මේ පරිගැනීමට ලක් වුණා ඉන්නවා නම් අමනාප වෙන්න එපා මෙහෙම කිව්වට අවසන් දිනයේ දෙවෙනිදාන් පස්සේ අපි වෙන මොනවත් බාරගන්නේ නැහැ. මොකද දෙවෙනිදාන් පස්සේ බාරගන්න දේවල් තමයි අවස්ථාවාදී. ඒව බාරගන්නට අමාරුයි. දෙවෙනිදා දක්වා හැමෝටම කල් තියෙනවා. ඒ Tamanට සිදුණු දේශපාලන පරිගැනීම් වලට ලියාපදිංචි වෙන්න. මම ඔබතුමන්ලට පොරොන්දු වෙනවා අනිවාර්යෙන්ම අපේ රජයක් තුල පළවෙනි මාස 6 තුල දේශපාලන පරිගැනීම් වලට සහන ලබා දෙන්න. අදුම තරමේ මට බොරු කියන්න බෑ ඔක්කොම කරනවායි කියලා. 75 ඉලක්කය පළවෙනි මාස 6 තුල පරිගැනීම් වලට සහන ලබා දීම අපි සම්පූර්ණ කරනවා. ඊට අමතරව පරිගැනීම් කරපු බලධාරීන්ට විරුද්ධව අපි වෙනමම නීති ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයක් ගන්නවා කියන එක මේ අවස්ථාවේ කියනවා. සියලුම වෘත්තීය සමිති නායකින්ගෙන් මම ඉල්ලීමක් කරනවා. අර සියලුම සමාජිකයන් සමගි ජන බලවේගයන් සමග එකතු කරන්න. ඕනනම් අර බුහාරිකින් කෑමයි අනිත් ඒවායි කණ්ඩ ඕන කට්ටිය ඉතුරු කරාට මට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. මට ඒ අපතේ ටික නම් ඕනේ නැහැ ඔය ගසා ගන්න. මට සමාජකත්වයේ හිතේම හැරෙනවා.
Now, China's ByteDance has agreed to divest the US operations of TikTok completely in a bid to save the deal with the White House after President Donald Trump said yesterday that he had decided to ban the popular short video app. US officials have said that TikTok, under its Chinese parent, poses a national risk because of the personal data it handles. ByteDance's concession will test whether Trump's threat to ban TikTok is a negotiating tactic or whether he is intent on cracking down on a social media app that has up to 80 million daily active users in the United States. ByteDance was previously seeking to keep a minority stake in US business of TikTok, which the White House had rejected. Under the new proposed deal, ByteDance would exit completely and Microsoft would take over TikTok in the United States. ExxonMobil and Chevron both reported huge losses for the second quarter that were even worse than what Wall Street was expecting, in yet another sign of how COVID-19 pandemic has wrecked the global economy. Shares of Exxon and Chevron were each lower in early trading yesterday after announcing the results. On Thursday, both stocks were among the biggest losers in the Dow. The coronavirus crisis has decimated demand for oil in 2020. Exxon lost $1.1 billion, the company's second straight quarterly loss, while Chevron posted a loss of $8.3 billion. Russian health authorities are preparing to start a mass vaccination campaign against coronavirus in October. Russian media quoted Russian health minister as saying that doctors and teachers would be the first to receive the vaccine. According to media reports, Russia's first potential vaccine would be approved by regulators this month. However, some experts are concerned at Russia's fast-track approach. Yesterday, the leading infectious disease expert in the US, Dr. Anthony Fauci, said that he hoped that Russia and China were actually testing the vaccine before administering them to anyone. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.